If a person becomes rich by luck, he usually doesn't remain rich. But if he knows the ground rules of investing as well as managing his money, even though he might earn a very, very small salary, he can still become rich. And this comes in the form of this story, which is The Richest Man in Babylon. If you all can pick up this book from Amazon, it's a very good book where it teaches you how, from time immemorial, these rules are taught by the rich people to their children every day. And these rules are from the time immemorial. And this is in the form of a very good story wherein Arkad was actually the richest man in Babylon. This is many, many years back. And everybody was wondering, like, why exactly, what are his secrets of becoming rich? And also all these things they explained nicely. And then they told him the story of his son, whose name was Nomasir. And normally, the tradition in Babylon at that time was the moment the son becomes 18 years of age, he becomes a prince to the kingdom. In the sense, he becomes a heir to the father's throne, wherein all the riches, whatever is there in the father's name, automatically gets transferred to the son's name. But when Nomasir completed 18 years, his father said totally something different on his 18th birthday. And he said that first, I want to hand over a bag of gold coins to you and a clay tablet with the 5 golden rules written on it. I want you to go to Nineveh, which is the neighboring town, and over there make a living for yourself for 10 years. And after 10 years, you can come back to my kingdom and give me a report on how you spent those first 10 years. And based on that, then I will decide whether this riches, what I've accumulated, should be given to you or I should donate it to the church. Because I don't want it to be in hands which will spoil this wealth of mine. So then Nomasir readily agreed. His father gave him a bag of gold coins and one clay tablet with the 5 golden rules written on it. And immediately he picked up one of the best horses and he joined the caravan. Now, as he was going in the caravan, he started meeting up with the people, and that time it was like a long walk from one place to another. It used to take at least say 1 week to 2 weeks to reach there. So as he was interacting with the people who were there along in the caravan, he immediately found one friend of his who came to know that he had a bag of gold coins. So he immediately told him that we have one business running in Nineveh. I want you to become a partner in it. And there is one guy there who actually is putting up a challenge against anybody to defeat his horse in a horse race. So we need to actually put in that much of money to see that we defeat that horse as far as possible. And like this, many, many offers started coming to Nomasir. And Nomasir didn't know exactly what to do with this bag of gold coins. But the moment he reached Nineveh, within a week's time, he actually landed up into a big trouble. He started gambling and he started using his money for any type of this activities. And within a period of say 1 week to maximum 2 weeks, his entire bag of gold coins just vanished. And what remained was only the clay tablet with the 5 golden rules written on it. And because of this condition, what happened is immediately he had to actually search for a job. He had to search for some food at least, and he had to somehow, for survival, he had to take up a job as a servant in a person's house in Nineveh. And in that house, he had to do all the odd type of jobs, like even cleaning the house, feeding of the pigs. And that reminded him exactly of the story of the prodigal son. And his condition was so bad that he was to always think that in my father's house, I would have been a king. Today here, I don't know what to do. And then suddenly, out of some consolation, a friend of his, another co-worker, told him that if you start saving some copper coins, if you can start doing some daily wages and get some copper coins with you, these copper coins, we can exchange it for silver coins. And then for every 10 silver coins, you can get 1 gold coin. And like this, he started with small, small savings. And then he started taking up small, small jobs, assignments, actually was working like a mason. And then slowly, slowly, he started accumulating this coins of that. After some time, after about a year's time, when he started doing this business and he had saved quite a bit of it in the form of silver coins, another big, nice proposal came. He met one friend who was in the business and he told him that the king has ordered to make a full wall around the whole village, protection. So the king was actually building the wall, and in the meantime, he understood he could have a foresight, and he said that the king will definitely require to put gates for this wall. So for these gates, we will need some bronze metal. So for that, he started thinking of where exactly he would get this bronze. And somehow they found that in another village, there was bronze available. So with these silver coins, he started trading. And finally, he started understanding the concept of trading. And then he started keeping these coins and converting them into gold coins. And slowly, slowly, he managed to start accumulating. And exactly in 10 years' time, he returns to his father's house. And the moment the father comes to know that his son has returned, he just throws an evening party for all the villagers. With all the incense and myrrh and all the celebrations, the king sits on his throne along with his wife, the queen, and Nomasir is made to stand on a podium just opposite. And on the either side, the entire village gathers just to listen to what exactly is Nomasir's story. Nomasir takes up to the podium and tells his dad that, yes, I'm very, very happy to be back here with you. And he orders his soldiers, the ones who had come along with him back from the this, to bring one bag of gold coins and keep it at the feet of the king, in the feet of his father. And when the soldier keeps the bag at the feet of his father, the Nomasir tells his father that this bag of gold coins is containing gold of Nineveh. You had given me an equal value of it from the gold of Babylon. So I have made it into the gold of Nineveh, and this is one bag which I'm returning back to you. And the other two bags, then he told the soldier to get another 2 bags of gold coins. And he says that these 2 bags of gold coins are in exchange for the clay tablet which you had given me, on which the 5 golden rules were printed. And let me tell you, when I went into crisis, the only thing I could do is look at these 5 golden rules. And with this wisdom that I got, in exchange for it, I feel that even 2 bags of gold coins are not sufficient for it. It is only when I learned how to manage money that I could actually achieve these things. So I would like to give you 2 bags of gold coin in exchange for the tablet, whereas the 1 bag which was that was the original what you had returned to me, and that is how I managed to return this to you. So immediately the king stood up, and he was very, very happy that his son now knew how to manage money. And he put his hands on his son's forehead and he said, yes, my dear son, whatever is my wealth will be yours. And he signs that will, and he makes a will saying that, yes, from today onwards, Nomasir will be the prince of Babylon. And that is what happened at that time. And let me tell you, in today's life, the same thing applies even in Goa. When parents notice that their children are financially disciplined and they know how to manage money, parents don't mind spending anything for their children. But the moment they see that the children don't know how to manage and they just overspend and just keep on spending and have no money at the end of it, for parents to even spend for their children, it becomes very difficult. And the same rule applies now here, the same thing. So because of that, if you learn the basic rules which were taught pre-civilization, right from the time immemorial, if you learn these basic rules, definitely you'll be able to achieve success. So today what we are going to do is going to ask you, means we are going to explain some simple terms which are very, very easy, but are very, very important in life. So if you understand the simple terms and you use it in your daily life, only then you'll be able to enjoy the thing. So now what are the simple terms which I wanted to show you? The first thing is you have to learn is what is the difference between a want and a need. I want something and I need something. And fortunately, there are some nice pictures over here wherein you can see the bikes which are there, the 2 different types of bikes, the 2 different types of mobile phones or smartphones. There are different types of pictures over here. Now, what is the difference between a want and a need? Basically speaking, need is something which is very, very necessary in life, which you cannot stay without. Whereas want is mostly a luxury, which is actually not needed, but just because someone else has it, we usually want to pick it up. We always try to compare with others, and we try to say that, okay, if he has it, even I should have it. So then we start comparing. If you start identifying, if you simply ask one simple question, the next time you buy any item which is item which is costing you more than say 5 to 10,000 rupees or whatever the price is, Just ask yourself this question: do I need it or do I want it? Now, if in case it is a need, then go ahead and buy it. But if it is a want, think twice before buying it. So if you don't actually need it, but just want it, then you end up paying money for something which is not necessary. So if you start understanding these two questions, next time, whenever you go, like I'll just give an experience. Suppose by chance you go to a mall, when you enter, actually you go to purchase something which you really require, means which you need. But have you ever realized that when you come out of the mall, you ended up buying some things which you don't need itself, just because it was buy one, get one free, or 50% discount, or discount sale because of Diwali? Just because there was a discount sale, we end up buying things which we don't even follow this rule, that just buy what you need and not what you want. So then only you'll be able to enjoy life. So the basic rule what we have taught today is, if you identify and understand these two words, that is want and need, you can achieve a lot of success in this. So the next time you buy anything, please don't forget to, do I need it or do I want it? So this is like the basic rule one, which was second. Now, the second question which I wanted to understand is, what is the difference between an asset and a liability? An asset and a liability. Now, I'll just give you 1 minute. Can you type on your chat box? Let's see how many answers we can get on the chat box. Like, what is the difference between an asset and a liability? What do you understand? Because then I'll give you the summary report of understanding what exactly is an asset and what is a liability. Let's see how many of y'all can answer. What is the difference between an asset and a liability? You can either put it on the chat box or you can put it on the comment box if you are on YouTube, because I can watch on both. Anybody? What is the difference between an asset and a liability? Okay, asset retains its value, liability loses value. Very good. This is one very good and new answer which I'm getting. Anybody else? Yes, asset is something which generates income, liability is something which takes away income. This is typical because I can see that Santosh was last year's Flip graduate, definitely understood things much better. Anybody else? The difference between an asset and a liability, because this is very important for you to know from the perspective of understanding between those who want to grow rich. Okay, Diksha Kankonkar says, asset is a thing which can remain with you for a long term. Asset is permanent, liability is temporary. No, liability also can be permanent. Asset can also be temporary. Asset is like a fixed asset, like machinery. Okay. Asset is an investment, liability is a loss. Okay, to some extent. Okay, Andrea says asset is which generates money and liability takes away money. Okay. Asset appreciates in value, liability depreciates in value. Okay. Well, now I will give you the answers. No problem. Whoever has answered, I must say thank you for the ones who have answered. But now let me tell you the actual things. In simple words, liability, whereas an asset is something which you own yourself. It is yours. It is not somebody else's. Whereas a liability is actually something which you owe someone. You have to pay for it. So that becomes a liability. This is one definition. The second definition is an asset. Of course, this definition was also mentioned by many of the Flip students. Asset is something which appreciates in value, liability in value. Like, say, for example, I buy a house for 40 lakhs of rupees. After a period of, say, 10 years, I can sell it for even 80 lakhs of rupees. So it becomes an asset because the price appreciates. Now, if I buy a car for 6 lakh rupees today and I want to sell it after 3 years, the maximum sale I can get for it is 2 lakh of rupees. So the depreciation value is there. The value depreciates in value. So automatically anything which depreciates in value is actually a liability. Anything which appreciates in value is an asset. And of course, the one important definition which all of you all have given, many of you all have shared it on the group. is, of course, asset is something which gives you an income, whereas liability is a way of income. And now, from the point of the richest man in Babylon, what we have noticed is rich people always acquire assets, whereas middle class and poor always acquire liabilities thinking that they are assets. Now, what is the understanding in this? Now, imagine I'm buying a mobile phone. If I buy a smartphone, the mobile phone or the smartphone, when is used for a business purpose, like say for example in my case as a financial advisor, I'm in touch with many students and many clients of mine on my mobile, and I do maximum business on my mobile. In that case, when it's generating an income for me, the smartphone becomes an asset. But if in case it is used only for personal purposes, then actually it becomes a liability because I'm not generating income from it. Now similarly, in a house, suppose you stay in the house and you're not able to generate any income from that house, it cannot be considered as an asset unless and until you plan to sell it off in future. But when you are going to live in it, it's not an asset. But many people feel the bigger the house, the richer I am. It is not at all that way. It all depends. And if you check and see, all the rich people in the world, they usually live in simple homes. They don't have a posh home. Even Warren Buffett stays rent, which means they are like basically just need the basic needs. They don't go for wants. So when you buy a mobile, there's an option between buying a very high-fi mobile like costing around 1 lakh rupees, and there's an option of buying say, a 10,000 rupees mobile, which you can fulfill all your needs even on a 10,000 one. The only difference is technology and the speed and whatever the other benefits are there. But until and unless you're going to start generating income on it, you need to start using a proper one as compared to making it a liability. Now, if you spend too much on your expenses and buying all liabilities, automatically you'll be actually falling in the middle class. But if you observe and see, rich people always focus on acquiring assets, whereas middle class focus on acquiring liabilities. So this is one more definition which I wanted you to know. So coming to the next definition, which I'm going to explain to you, is regarding this definition. Now, what is the difference between savings, investing, and trading? So let's try answering this. I want all of you to try out your answers. I'm just giving you 1 minute. What is the difference between saving, investing, and trading? Because after that, then I will explain to you in simple words. I put all the three images there so you can see exactly what is saving, investing, and trading. You can put it on the chat box and see how many answers we get. Yeah, what is the difference between saving, investing, and trading? Saving refers to collecting money. Very good, Siddhi. Very good answer. Trading is in shares or is of shares, whereas saving is in FD, etc. Investment can be SIP, etc. Yes, you're getting the picture about it. Anybody else? I think people who are actually watching it on YouTube are not paying attention much. Can make out it's only people who are on Zoom who are paying attention. There are many on the YouTube because I'm not getting any responses on the YouTube. So we are getting more responses on the Zoom. So I must congratulate the Zoom participants as compared to YouTube participants, because I'm not getting any answers from the YouTube participants. So what is the difference between saving, investing, and trading? Yes, saving is accumulating money. Very good. This is also on Zoom. I'm just waiting to see the participants who are there on YouTube. There's no response at all coming from you. Yes, very good. At least one person has started. Saving means save for the future purpose. Yes. Any difference? Yeah, now at least we are getting some response from YouTube participants. Like Rosal has mentioned, when we save, we get it after a certain time, like saving account and some interest. Definitely. Very good, Rosal. Andrea says saving is just keeping money, investing in the mutual funds, and trading is in stocks. Okay, to some extent, you can say it right. Now, here we are getting some answers on the Zoom also. Very good. At least we are getting now answers. That means there are some people who are attentive, but there are very few. There are many more who are not paying attention. Okay, investing gives us some returns. Trade means business to grow financially. It's correct. No problem. Any more? Okay, so now I will give you the answers. I won't wait for more answers because these answers I'll be going through later. But now let me explain to you what is the difference from my way of understanding, because previously I used to not even myself, I need know all these things. Now, let me explain to you. Savings is basically keeping money aside for the future so that whenever we need it in the future, we can use it. And let me tell you, savings even animals do. It's not only human beings. Even, but surprisingly, the biggest difference between an animal and a human being is animals don't have human beings who have financial stress, because many human beings are really worried about money, whereas for animals it's not there. But savings is basically keeping aside for the rainy day. So you may save your money in the bank, you may save it in the PPF account, means a public provident fund. You can even save it in LIC, means a life insurance policy. You can even save it in mutual funds. But the main idea behind saving is keeping money aside for use in future. In the sense, I'm planning to use this money in the future. That's why I'm keeping it here so safe, so that I don't have to actually have some emergency type of a thing. So savings is basically, the intention is to use it in the future. Now, what is investing? Investing is putting money into an asset class which will generate income for me permanently. Now, I'm buying a house and generating a rental income from it. So that becomes investing. I'm investing in a house so that I can generate income from it. I'm investing into a business so that I can get returns out of it, so that I can get an income out of it. Like I'm investing in shares and I'm being with the company so that I get dividends out of it. So investing is basically like buying an asset that will generate income for you, or creating an asset which will generate a permanent income for you. Whereas what is trading is buying and selling and making one-time or short-term profits. Like say, for example, I buy a share at one price and I sell it at another price. So I either book losses or profits, but I'm not the owner of it anymore. Or if I buy a property and I sell it, once I sell it, it becomes trading. But if I own it and I get returns out of it, then it becomes an investment. Investment is generating income from an asset, whereas trading is buying and selling. And trading anybody does. And when, for example, as a dentist also, I used to buy dental materials, use it in the patient's mouth for fillings, restorations and all, and we used to make money out of it. That is basically called trading. Like many of us as youngsters like to go into trading, but trading is basically buying, selling and making short-term profits, but you're never an owner of it. Whereas investing is, I'll just give an example, in the form of shares or in the form of mutual funds. Say suppose by chance I accumulate 1 lakh units or 1 lakh shares, like 1 lakh units in the mutual fund or 1 lakh shares. Over a period of time, every year the company gives us dividends. Like now, if for example, I own say 1 lakh shares of a company like Cipla, 17 rupees per share, which means even though I'm owning the shares of 1 lakh shares of Cipla, this comes into my account as dividends. And because I'm holding on to the shares, I'm getting the dividends regularly. So that is called investing. Whereas trading is buying, selling, buying, selling. And saving is just keeping it there so that we can use it in the future. Now, if you want to become rich, you cannot afford to do savings just like that. Savings you require for short term, but in the long term, savings doesn't grow. If you try to do trading, in trading, your thing is much more riskier, and at the same time, the returns are very, very fluctuant. One time you make profit, 10 times you'll make losses. So continuously, you'll keep on trading and making losses. Whereas investing is basically like what I should say. The difference which I came to know now is investing is like getting married to a company, whereas trading is like doing dating with the company. So if you want to become rich, you need to start investing right now. The earlier you start investing, automatically you'll be able to create more wealth for your future. So the difference between savings, investing, and trading, I hope you have understood. If in case you have any doubts, please put it on the chat box and I will reply to you after separately. Individually, we can reply. If in case you have any doubts with regards to saving, investing, and trading. Basically, in summary, saving is keeping money aside for the rainy day. Investing is putting it into an asset and generating income for you. Trading is buying and selling. So if you understand these three words, 90% of our job is done. Okay, so now going to the next one. What is credit and what is debit? Because these two words you have to understand. Credit is when you borrow money from someone. Debit is when you lend money to someone. We have taken it, means borrowed money from someone. And debit is basically you have lent your money to someone. And based on that, the interest rate works. So there is something interest, which is like the profits or the losses which you make as per the credit and debit. But the only thing you should know that credit is basically borrowing, debit is lending. So these two words, if you understand easily, becomes very common. Then we go to, and that is what is the difference between simple interest and compound interest. Now, simple interest is basically the principal amount multiplied by the rate of interest multiplied by the number of years. So automatically it is just one fixed interest. Like now, say for example, if you have 10,000 rupees invested and your interest rate is 5%. If it is simple interest, every year you will get 500 rupees as your interest. And that is called as simple interest. Whereas what is compound interest is interest upon interest, wherein on top of your principal amount, your interest amount gets added, and according to that, it keeps on increasing. Like I've just put one example here on this. Say the principal amount was put as 10,000. In the first year, he gets an interest of 500. So automatically the accumulated amount is 10,500. The second year, 10,500 is invested. He gets an interest of 525 on it at the rate of 5%. And automatically it becomes 11,025. And then 1125 invested in the third year gives an interest of 551.25. And this is the amount 1,575.25. As 11,500, what he would have basically compound interest becomes more and more as the years increase. And the longer you stay invested, the more is the returns on it. In fact, I can give you my own example of my own investment cycle. When I started investing in the year 2008, for me to actually touch 10 lakhs took approximately 5 years, even though I was saving just 8,000 rupees a month, which I increased, of course, by 1,000 every year. And with that, it took me 5 years to actually cross the millionaire mark, means that 10 lakh figure. 10 lakhs to 50 lakhs took me just 3 years. Amount of saving was almost the same. Only thing is that then I started doing top-ups in the middle. And the biggest satisfaction was from 50 lakhs to 1 crore, it took me just 2 years. And 1 crore to 2 crores took me just another 2 years. And now I can actually see what is the power of compounding. And that is how I would like to show this for you in the form of a nice video, which I would like to play now. Just listen to this video.
एक बार एक कवि हुआ करता था। उसकी माली हालत इतनी में खाने के लाले पड़ गए। इसी कारण उसने महल में जा राजा के बुलाए जाने पर उसने अपनी कविताएं पढ़नी शुरू की। अपना इनाम मांगने के लिए कहा। कवि ने मोहरों से सजे शतरंज की ओर कहा, महाराज, अगर आप पहले खाने में चावल का एक दाना रखें और हर गुना करते जाएं, तो मैं समझूंगा मुझे मेरा इनाम मिल गया। बस इतना ही? राजा ने पूछा। सिर्फ चावल का एक दाना और सोना नहीं? जी हाँ महाराज। तो फिर ऐसा ही हो। दरबारियों ने चावल के दाने रखने शुरू कर दिए। पहले खाने में 1, दूसरे में 2, तीसरे में 4, चौथ जब 10वें खाने में चावल रखने की बारी आई तो उन्हें चावल के 512 दाने रखने पड़े। 20वें खाने तक संख्या बढ़कर 5,24,288 हो गई। आधे हिस्से आते 32वें खाने में चावल के दानों की गिनती 214,74,83,648 हो गई। जल्द ही गिनती अरबों खरबों में बढ़ गई। आखिरकार अभागे राजा को अपना पूरा राजपाट उस चतुर कवि के और इसकी शुरुआत चावल के सिर्फ एक दाने से हुई थी। कहानी की सीख, चक्रवृद्धि की ताकत को कम नहीं आंकना चाहिए।
That is 72 divided by 4 is 18 years. So which means it will take 18 years for your money. Say suppose you have put 1 lakh of rupees. For 1 lakh to become 2 lakhs will take 18 years. Now, if you're generating 5% interest on it, that means it will take 12 years to double. If it is giving you 9% interest, that means it is 8 years to double. If you're getting 12%, it is 6 years to double. And if you're getting approximately 15%, it takes around 4.8 years to double. And if you notice this, the higher the rate of interest, naturally, the less number of years it is. So the rate of returns, if you start calculating and you want to know like by when your money will double, you can use this rule of 72. So another rule which is very easily applicable, if you want to know by when will this money triple. So there is a rule of 114 which says that 114 divided by the rate of interest will give you 3x the amount, means 3 times your amount will become. So now, say for example, you invest 1,000 rupees in an instrument which gives you 10% per year, means 10% interest or 10% returns per year. Automatically, you divide 114 by 10, exactly in 11.4 years, your money will become triple. Now, the same thing, if you put it in an instrument which is generating 5% returns, divide 114 by 5, it takes 22.9 years to return. And I'm telling you, just keep these figures in mind, because when we go for the next lecture and we can't know how much returns each asset class gives you on an average, that will help you understand in how many years your money will double or even triple, or even I'll give you the next quadruple. So here, if you're getting 3% on this 1,000, it will take 37 years to triple if in case you keep it just at the rate of 3%. So if now currently, if you see the saving bank rate is 3% in Goa, or in India also, it is 3%. So if you leave your money in a saving bank account, it is like basically it will take 37 years to triple. And if you want to check it double also, you can see. And now I've come out with another formula, which is actually 4 times. Now, if you want to know how long your money will take to become quadruple, means 4 times that amount, it is the rule of 144. So 144 divided by rate of interest is equal to 4x, which means if suppose by chance I'm putting my money in a fixed deposit now, which is giving me 6% interest, exactly it will take me 24 years for that money to quadruple, in the sense become 4 lakhs of rupees in 24 years. So now if I have invested 1 lakh 24 years back, which was giving me 6% returns, by now it would have been only 4 lakh of rupees. And if I'm getting something where I'm putting in 12% returns, where I'm putting in an asset which is generating for me 12% returns, automatically this money becomes 4 times in 12 years time. So if you want to understand these rules, they're very simple. The rule of 72 will tell you how many years your money will become double. The rule of 114 tells you how many years it takes to triple, and rule of 144 will tell you in how many years it will quadruple. So based on this, you can see the compound rate is much more stronger, and it is even said that compound interest is actually the 8th wonder of the world. So if you remain invested for long, only then it has to grow. But what makes a very big difference is so if the rate of returns differs even by just 1%, it can make a huge difference over a period of years. So where you put your money, what rate it grows, and for how long you keep it are the 3 main factors which will decide whether your money will grow or it will not grow. So as long as you understood this interest. So now what I'll give you is, we'll do a small homework for today. Now, this time for this weekend, we have another 3-4 days till the next session we have on next Monday. I want you all to actually, I will put it on the group also on WhatsApp, but I want you all to qualities of a leader, a person who can excel and show over the others that I can do much better than the others. So for that, I would like you to all subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm sure most of you must have already done, but actually speaking, there are only about 56 or 57 of you all out of 150 who have already subscribed to our channel. So I would request all those who have not subscribed as yet, because I've been getting some excuses that I have my ISA papers, my ISA exams are there, the videos, but those are basically people who are suffering from excusitis virus, because excuses are always there for everyone who wants to fail to achieve. Here virus comes, because this excusitis virus is one thing which will not help you grow rich. If you start giving excuses saying that because I had ISA exam or I had to submit the project, doesn't mean to say I don't get time to watch a 10-minute video or a 15-minute video. You can watch it. So the homework for today basically is on that YouTube channel in our library, just type Udaan Series 1. Udaan Series 1 is one of the very good lectures that we have conducted on leadership, on how to feel yourself and have your inner belief that you can actually achieve something in life. So what I would suggest is today evening or even tomorrow or over this weekend before Sunday, please watch this video, Udaan Series 1, and share your learnings either on the YouTube channel in the form of comments, or you can share it even on the WhatsApp group. Because if you share it on the WhatsApp group that we have created, it will help others also get motivated to start watching it better. Because this video, I really liked it because there are two very good videos in this presentation which have actually changed my life also. So I want you all to watch those videos and see the entire presentation on how you can be good videos in this presentation which have actually changed my life also. So I want you all to watch those videos and see the entire presentation on how you can be successful in life. Okay, so once again, I would like to thank all of you. In fact, we will be taking the attendance. It's already there based on the, as well as on the comment box. We have already taken the attendance. So I would hope you all have enjoyed this second session today. It was more of definitions and more related to the rate of interest which you get on your investments. So now the third session, which we are going to do on Monday, is going to be like exactly asking us, where will I have more risk? What exactly I should watch? And what are the factors that will affect where